on a Friday morning, 10 a.m. every week, and this is week 25. Hard to believe that we've been doing this now for 25 weeks, but certainly we are continuing to do it because we hear from yourselves on how valuable the sessions have been for you. So today is part of Small Business Festival, as has been the whole month of October. And let me firstly say Warrami, which is welcome in Darug language, which is our native territory here. And may I pay my respects to all Aboriginals, past, present, and our future leaders, of which we're working with to take care of the lands in which we work. So just a quick couple of things about Outdoors New South Wales and ACT for those that have joined us for the first time today. My name's Laurie Mode and I'm the CEO of Outdoors New South Wales and ACT. We are here because we are enriching communities by connecting them with nature to lead them to more healthier and more fulfilled lives. And we do that by helping you guys, the ones that really do the work on the ground, to provide exactly that. So you are made up of various different avenues right across the sector, everything from our academics, which provide us with the necessary research to do our things better, right through the practitioners on the ground doing the works, outdoor leading as you do, to provide skills for our people. It also involves our event organisers, and it's as of today that events can now start participating in the outdoors up to 500 people in New South Wales. So we're down to the 2 square metre rule as of today, but more on that a little bit later. And we can also provide a lot of different services to our sector. So it's everything from opportunities like this, as well as information about what's going on in the sector and information you need to do your business better, but also information that you don't have the time to do, that we can search for you and provide to you quickly and efficiently. Just a reminder for those that are under the pandemic policy clause that the 30th of November is the cutoff for payments for your memberships. So again, like we've been saying the last few weeks, if you're really worried about that cash flow, we have now set up that monthly payment system to help you in making sure that you don't miss out on the benefits that we're providing all of our members. So, Small Business Month, as we said, we've got 2 sessions left that are dedicated to the outdoors. We've already had our first 2, which were great, and they are now on the YouTube channel. So if you want to jump onto the YouTube, you can watch both of those sessions. The first one was with Paul Wade, ex-Socceroo, and the second one was with Dave Power, who talked a lot about marketing, maximising your viewership when you use video. So a really powerful session that was. We have 2 more, one next week, next Thursday morning with Stephen Garrard, and also Business Connect. So they're going to help you in understanding some of the tools that are available for your use at no cost that you probably don't know exist. And these tools can help you make informed choices about everything you do in your business. So make sure you register to get the link for that, because it's not the same as today's link. It is a webinar, and both of those sessions are 2 separate webinar links. So make sure you want to register for one or both. Do so on that QR code there. You can scan that now with your phone. And the last one there is Dan Cockrell, who is the amazing Vice President, was ex-Vice President of Magic Kingdom, and who does leadership best, and I certainly put Disney up there quite high. So Dan's going to join us live from Florida, so it'll be 6 o'clock his time the night before, and it'll be 9 o'clock on the 30th of October. So make sure you jump onto that, because I think he's got some amazing wisdom to share with all of us. COVID update. So I alluded before that we have a new release on our restrictions as of today, and that is around the outdoor rule in New South Wales to 2 square metres. So indoor still has to abide by the 4 square metre rule, but if you're wanting to hold events now, you can actually hold them up to 500 as long as you can comply with that 2 square metre rule. For businesses, it's up to 300 in that 2 square metre rule. ACT camps can now resume, as probably you received in your membership newsletter. But however, we've got one outstanding issue, which we're trying to get an answer on through the New South Wales Department of Education, and it relates to ACT operators not being able to accept New South Wales schools. So at the moment, the New South Wales Department of Education says nothing interstate, quite a broad brush statement. So we're trying to get an exemption there for ACT. Hopefully we can push that forward for some of our ACT operators, and that will lessen a lot of the restrictions, and hopefully a lot more to come. A reminder of 2 different surveys that we've got out at the moment. We'll probably be closing the mentoring one off soon. So if you can spread this far and wide, we've had excellent response to our mentoring program. If you're interested in mentoring, or if you're interested in being a mentoree, please jump on, scan that QR code, fill in your details. The program is not till next year, so it's not something you're signing up to commit straight away. You will get advance notice, but if you're interested, please log your details so we get a bit of an understanding of how big we can make this mentoring program for the outdoors. And the second one there, I encourage everyone to certainly jump on and give us your feedback around the National Outdoor Education Conference. Even if you haven't been before, this is an opportunity to share with us what you'd actually be searching from a conference right now to help empower you in understanding what you need to do for the future. As probably everyone has been telling me, networking is a great opportunity with these conferences. So it could be all of an outdoor industry focus, but we need your feedback on what you're actually looking for with that event. So if you can scan that code, we can certainly get your feedback on that. We can review. The camping pricing review is underway. I will accept last minute submissions on camp pricing if you want to submit yours, but it can only be literally today, because I don't want to get into next week and start making some judgments and then have to add you in. So if you haven't provided it yet, please give it to me today, but it is underway. So hopefully we'll have that report for you probably in the next month or so. But this week has been largely around recruitment. And I can see on the line already some people that are out there with ads going as we speak. So if anyone wants to just jump in at any stage and highlight some of the challenges that they're heading in this direction, please do so. But I managed to chat with a university in South Carolina yesterday that focuses on outdoor specifically. And I've got to tell you, they're struggling in the same way that we are. They are finding it very hard to recruit staff. We have a lot of issues or challenges, I should say, in our sector that make it a little bit different and a little bit more difficult than most sectors. So that's led to today's discussion. And today we're going to have Simone give us a bit of an update on what TAFE's doing to help get your guys up and running, and certainly out in the leadership roles as quickly as possible. But I've managed to track down a dear person who is going to help us understand the recruitment world a little bit better, and to have a little bit of a different think about what we need to do when we look for staff for our businesses. And I'll introduce her in just a second. But it did lead to a bit of a push from us to help you in getting the right applicants to the role. And you might have already seen that we now have set up Outdoor Work New South Wales ACT, which is a Facebook page that we are putting all members' ads up and pushing them out for you. I will show you some results on that a little bit later after Di's spoken, but wanted to share with you how things work in the social space better than others, but we'll do that after we hear from Di. So let's kick off. And firstly, Simone, did you want to give us a quick update on what you're up to?
Yeah, sure. Just checking my sound. Thumbs up if you can hear me. Yeah, great, awesome. Hi everyone. It's so exciting that industry is rebooting, but as we're finding, we're getting so many contacts from industry just asking if we've got graduates ready or if they've got any additional staff. We've been forwarding all those ads out to all of our past and students that are about to graduate. But what it has brought to us is just the need to look at some of the incentives that the government has actually put out there. And I'm having a meeting with industry on the 26th of October. If you'd like to join in on that, please feel free to just whack your email address in the chat pod and I'll disseminate the calendar invite as well to you all. I have put in the chat pod a link. I'm hoping it's going to link it through to the budget. But basically, just so you know, there is a 50% wage subsidy for organisations to take on trainees. This is in New South Wales, I certainly know. I'm not sure on it more at a national level. But what we're getting a lot of inquiries around is traineeships for 2021 and working with industry to deliver a good delivery schedule that's going to bring out at least a Cert 3 grad within one semester. And then if they are a trainee, they can be working for your organisation, getting internal training whilst also studying with us at TAFE over a 2-semester period, which actually seems to work a lot better for organisations so that you can actually use staff on the ground. The exciting thing is the wage subsidies are actually up to 50%. So I think it's $7,000 per quarter that the organisation gets back. I also believe that the fee to enrol a trainee is $0 for the organisation up front. So if you are interested or you haven't necessarily thought of having a trainee, this is a great opportunity to start exploring that. And all you need to do is Google an Australian Apprenticeship Centre nearby you, and they will be able to help connect you in. And then you can nominate the training provider that you would like them to study with. We'd hope it would be us at Lithgow, but if not, you know, it's just another opportunity to share that information around. But what we are finding is across the board, industry is going to be suffering a skills shortage. And if we don't address how we actually get people engaged into even training within RTOs, then we're either not going to have enough staff for the future, or we're going to need to not rely on national quals and rely on a lot more internal training within organisations. So I guess what I'm just trying to do is be as proactive as possible to say, you know, are there links on your website to even refer people that are interested in working for your organisations back to an RTO, because that's really where they need to start. Rather than just saying, look, sorry, but we don't take anyone without a Cert 3 or a Cert 4, because that's not actually going to help get back to the crunch of what the actual problem is, which is we need to grow people into our industry. So that's really what the meeting is that I've sort of mentioned, and we'd love to create more relationships with the crew that are involved with Outdoors New South Wales and ACT.
Beautiful. Thanks, Simone. Is there any, I just noticed Rob's just put up about the question relating to the Outdoor Leadership Cert 4. I know we've had it on good word that you'll be ready semester 1 for that course. So Rob, yes, they will be up.
Yeah, absolutely. So Certificate 3 and Certificate 4 in Outdoor Leadership, we are rolling out come February 2021. What we will be doing with the Certificate 4 is concentrating on the bushwalking and our core units, first of all, as TAFE develops the rest of the units that sit, the ones that we want specifically developed. But what's great is we can get started, which is so awesome.
Yeah. Brilliant. Does anyone else have any other questions for Simone while we've got her and she's not in the outdoors?
I was last hanging out.
Sorry, Dave, you go ahead then.
Okay, one of the problems with traineeships for small organisations that might only have casual work on an irregular basis is that we don't have the full-time work needed. Yeah? Perhaps one of the things that we could look at could be joining groups together of small operators who might be able to share a traineeship in the future, which could be something worth looking at. The other thing I guess we've got to remember is we can't use trainees as leaders under the adventure activity standards, because they've actually got to be competent, so they can actually only be used in support roles, assistant leader, where their competency is accepted and so on. But it might be worth looking at how we can group people together in location areas and share a traineeship. I don't know whether that's possible.
And David, if people are interested in that concept, the Australian Apprenticeship Centres are certainly the organisations to go through. They are the middleman between the employer and the RTO. and that it's a free service to basically just get some of that information out. The other option is you can do traineeships part-time. So that also then reduces the amount of hours that they would spend in your organisation, but also the cost would be reduced significantly as well. Just so you know that, yeah, the Cert 4 is across all regions at TAFE. So that's Lithgow, Wentworth Falls and Hunter, where the 3 providers that are that have been identified to be able to deliver. And sorry, what was
that? That's right, exactly what you said. So yes,
okay, great.
Yeah, it's head office certainly confirmed they'll be offered by the campuses that currently do it, but also wherever there is demand, they'll certainly connect them with opportunities. Brilliant. Any other questions for Simone? I love your idea, Dave, too, by the way. I think that's that share model. Helen, did you want to talk to that? Are you able to select a trainee, or are you given any trainees?
Good question, Helen. So yeah, just going back, yeah, the organisation selects the trainee just through a recruitment process, and it can be a great opportunity. Like a couple of schools have actually approached me recently that have campuses, and what they're choosing to do is use it as a gap year idea for some students that, you know, the traditional gap year is no longer at the moment because of what has happened with COVID. So they're just trying to create opportunities for their students as well. So you can think about it in terms of it's a great way of trying to support somebody to grow into the industry. Once again, if your organisation is able to afford that, but with the wage subsidies, it's worth looking at because it could be a really good value for money.
Great, thanks. That sounds great.
And if you want to advertise for a traineeship, I know a great Facebook page. It's Outdoor Work New South Wales ACT, which we can help you get the word out. That's great. Thanks, Simone. Thank you so much. And Hugh, did you have a question, or did you, I saw you unmuted yourself. Did you?
Yeah, I was just going to chip in on the back of what Dave was saying. I think we'd probably be too small to be able to usefully take on a trainee. It'd probably be a waste of their time. But we'd be very happy to have somebody join us to, you know, maybe there's some things that we're doing that other people aren't, and contribute to if it makes it more viable for somebody else.
Look,
I might have a chat with Andy at BMAC and see Blue Mountains Adventure Company and see if that's something that, you know, we could enter into together, because I reckon it's a really great initiative, and trying to get it to work would, you know, get the hours up to make it sort of viable would be really cool.
And what a fabulous experience for that trainee, getting multiple organisational...
Would probably reflect the employment up here as well. You know, guides, particularly when they start out, tend to have a number of employers, and having some familiarity with their systems, potentially really good. Particularly, I think if they're making the move from a Cert 3 to a Cert 4, it might be a way for them to be being paid while they're doing it. Really, really cool idea, and hopefully something that sort of gives us fills that gap you were rightly identifying.
And thanks, Simone, for chasing that up. I think that's something that we need to push.
Okay, and what I might do is I might even put it in that work ACT, the results of what I find, because maybe I know a lot of people aren't in the meeting today because they're so engaged in getting back into the field, which is awesome. So I'll make sure that info goes across.
Can I tell you, as soon as we promoted that today was about recruitment, I had about 15 messages saying, "Are you recording it?" Because everyone's like, I can't stop to work out recruitment because I've got to do a job that I'm trying to find someone to do. So there you go.
Great.
Wonderful.
And then the only other thing for us, just in our space at Lithgow campus, is we're looking at those 6 statement of attainment starting in 2021 in term 1, just to try and target some of the folks that need to just have a bit of an upskill or a refresh to get a couple of quals within the new training package. So stay tuned for that. I'll make sure that all the dates, once they're set, come through to this space so that you guys have an opportunity to put forward staff if that's appropriate.
Brilliant. That's so great. Thanks, Simone, so much. this leads perfectly as a segue into our next session, which I reached out to Di because when it comes to HR and anything recruitment, I can't think of anyone else but Di. I'm not going to introduce her. I'm going to let her tell you what she's been up to in her career, because I think you'll be astounded by what value she brings us today. And I've given her a bit of a brief on some of the challenges that we're having right now. And if I can paraphrase in the interest of time, you guys are full steam ahead. You need stuff on the ground. You're struggling at getting people that are the right fit for what we need right now, because we have been decimated. We've lost staff. Have I missed anything? Any other issues you want to throw up there? Is that the summary?
Very specific nature of work and highly casualised workforce. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Fabulous. All right, I'm going to hand over to Di and she's going to take it away. So thank you for joining us, Di. Love your work.
Thank you very much, Laurie, and welcome everybody. It's a privilege for me to have the opportunity to speak with you today. So I'm not 100% familiar with your specific industry and your specific challenges. However, I can guess what many of them are, and so in the 48 hours that I had since Laurie tapped me on the shoulder, I have tried to give some consideration to this. So I'm hoping that by the end of this session, you will at least have a few ideas that maybe can add to, I'm sure, the many, many ideas that you already have. You know, I'm a great believer in the philosophy that none of us is as smart as all of us. So in spite of my, shall we say, many years in the recruitment industry, both national and international, I never stop learning. So, it's a joy to keep learning from each other. So it was nice to hear Simone talking about TAFE. TAFE is very dear to my heart because for 17 years I chaired an advisory board for Sydney Institute, and I've done a lot of work coaching TAFE people around business development and engaging with industry. But my experience, my biggest claim to fame within the industry sector is having led the team that was tasked with the recruitment for SOCOG, the organising committee for the Olympic Games. So through that little program, which ran for about 4 years, we hired the staff of SOCOG, and we also provided Olympic-related staff to 150 other organisations, in total close to 12,000 people. So it was just a little project. But I've never lost the love of for recruitment. And yes, it's a challenge. It's never easy at the best of times. So if you're struggling at the moment, don't feel that there's something wrong with you. Especially in the unique circumstances that you find yourself at the moment. You know, I've tried to sort of visualise that, you know, this thing called COVID hit, none of us were prepared for it. Suddenly the wheels just fell off, everything stopped. There was loss of income for so many organisations. Employees stood down. Lots of different regulations, extra costs to implement those, you know, COVID regulations, etc. And now suddenly, and it's joyful news that you can ramp up, but that's a hard ask in a short period of time. And many industries are being faced with this at the moment and have been even throughout COVID. If you think about the aged care sector and finding people for home care in particular through all of this, finding people with the right quals, the right experience, the right personality, the right touch has been a huge challenge and constantly growing challenge. So I was interested to hear Simone's thought there too, that if schools are offering a gap year, in some ways that may help mitigate the fact that you're not finding the backpacker traveller cohort that perhaps you've been able to tap into in the past. And also having borders locked down means that transfer of people who might choose to come and work in New South Wales for a period of time has become more difficult. So in having looked at some of the advertisements, I can see that for a number of the roles that you're looking for, you need people with specific qualifications, you need them to have experience, you need to have them have attainment across a wide range of different skills. So, you know, I'm sitting back here saying, I know this is not easy. Another thing that's playing out at the moment is the media impact. Talking about, you know, hundreds of
We've
people.
lost your visual.
Oh, no, I'm here.
There you go.
Sorry, talking about hundreds of people applying for every job. Now, in some jobs, yes, that is very, very true. In some jobs, it isn't. And when I spoke to Laurie a couple of days ago, I suggested that maybe there needs to be a push to be talking about where there are jobs. You know, people have become weary, they've become stressed, they're in many cases, they've been applying for jobs and getting knockbacks. Now, suddenly here's an area, and yes, I accept that there's specific qualifications and expertise that you're looking for, but we need to get the message out there that, hey, we've got jobs in this space. And the appeal of having outdoors activities in a COVID world, we need to be promoting that. It's a bit like the push that's been happening for farmers trying to get fruit pickers, etc., to work on their farms. And again, I stress it. I have this expression called "leave no stone unturned." That's really, you know, stones you find outdoors. So maybe that's a bit of a mantra that we have to adopt at the moment. That we need to be doing everything we possibly can. So the other thing that I understand is that you have a highly a career path that isn't all clear. Is that a fair comment? That keeping people within the outdoors space over a period of something that needs to be worked on. I like the sound of the discussion around different size organisations being able to with each other to perhaps facilitate some of that too. But touch briefly on another aspect of your work. I understand that risk areas, it's an area where safety is of major concern, both physical and emotional. There's if you're doing schools work, there's, you know, the risk of reputational damage as well. So I can understand that once again, this is not an area where you can afford to cut corners. So you do need to be very focused and cautious. But however, looking at those ways that are there any areas where you can lower the bar just a little, but make sure then that you're doing that on the ground, on the job, coaching and training. We do find that when it comes to career pathing, and that induction and onboarding is just so critical. And again, in a space where suddenly the wheels are spinning, trying to come back up to speed, the focus on induction, good, solid, well-planned, well-executed, regularly reinforced induction and onboarding can be overlooked, but it really pays dividends. They say the first 90 days of someone in a new job are very, very critical in cementing that relationship and cementing that joy, that being involved, being engaged. We're certainly getting lots of information, I'm sure you are too, about the rapid increase in mental health and anxiety. So when whenever people in any way, shape or form, whether we're hiring, we're inducting them, whether they're part of our team, we've got to be constantly aware of that. I know it's part of some of the programs that you run too, which is excellent. If at all times, no doubt, the focus is also about who are the customers. The customers are not necessarily participants. I can imagine that in the schools area, the customers, the stakeholders are also the schools, the parents. There's that whole cluster of stakeholders that you need to be satisfying as well. And when it comes to looking at staff, it's looking for those ones that will no doubt really understand that. And that's, again, part of the coaching and training that goes with it, and encouraging them at all times to really put the spotlight on the customer. I just share a little statistic with you. We sometimes think that, you know, we're a very great company, you know, we engage really easily, people speak out, they give us feedback. Well, actually, that's not the case. Interested to know from research that's been done in the world in terms of customer engagement. Australia actually wins the bronze medal. Bronze medal for complaining. But there's a big is that we don't usually complain because we can make a difference. So we'd rather, if you think about the work that you're doing and you can say, well, I never get any bad feedback, I never get any complaints. Don't take it for gospel that everybody is satisfied. Chances are they've just vote with their feet and they don't come back. And that's because we Aussies, we don't want to rock the boat. We don't want to give direct feedback. My children, from the time they were little, became very accustomed to me, any kind of, shall we say, putting a big smile on my face, and could I give you some customer feedback? And when you do that with a smile, people have to say, yes, I'd be happy to give you customer. I'd be happy to hear that. So we as Australians, we don't do that as a matter of course. We will tell 26 others about bad service. So it's just a little bit to throw in there, whether you're recruiting, whether you're whatever you're doing, it's really valuable to keep that statistic in mind. Laurie and I had a very brief conversation about the fact that another one of the challenges that you face is that of being at the lower end of the pay scale as far as remuneration goes within your industry. And so that also feeds into poor retention and poor career progression. And I'm going to share a little thing from way back again in my Olympic career that we did that now might be a time for you to consider this. We had learned that there was a huge problem with retention of staff in the Atlanta Games, and that was the games prior to Sydney. It was the first back-to-back games for 60 years that had a common language. So our opportunity to learn the good things and the not so good things from Atlanta was huge. So we wanted to make sure here in Australia that when it came to the massive teams of labour that we had for hospitality, for catering, for cleaning, for all of those, shall I say, the lower end of the pay scale, that we needed to think of something quite out of the box. So there was a very unique award created just for the duration of the Olympic and Paralympic Games and a bit of time before and after. It was a world first. It meant a huge amount of consensus from all the unions across all of those industries, and it was a great outcome. But what was decided was that they would all have one uniform pay rate for Olympic work. But then they would have a certain amount per hour that would be put into what was called a retention bonus. So the retention bonus was not paid until the end of their commitment, their particular role. It worked an absolute treat, and people were looking forward to getting that bonus. And I have shared this strategy with other organisations. People who employ apprentices and the pay is low have implemented this retention bonus so that a young person can look forward to receiving, this little lump sum of money at particular times where they have continued to provide their service. Right now, and I was pleased that Simone referred to the incentives. There's the incentives for trainees, but there's also the other incentives for hiring people under 35. And it may very well be that within your industry, actually use some of that incentive money to implement some type of retention bonus, or nothing in the world that says you can't pay. You can offer more. Generally you can more with that as well. And the beauty of a retention bonus only costs if it works. Apart from that, think about the cost of turnover. The cost of paying a little more or paying a retention bonus is really an investment that turns on. So just another little thought. The other thing is that when we're working with people at that lower end of the, we have to be really, really clever about thinking of rewards. And want more than anything else to be appreciated in a very genuine, and that costs nothing. So I'd to, with your teams and with your groups, to do brainstorm about what intangible rewards would be meaningful to our cohorts. Could it be that an outdoor leader's child come to a program free of charge? There's a lot of extra cost in that, but it could be really powerful as an extra reward. Maybe you do these things already. I'm sorry if I'm telling you things that you're already doing. So is it merchandise? Is it what else is it? What else could it be that is an intangible reward? And certainly even recognising the periods of where people have stayed with you, and it's it's a dinner for two or something like small little things can go. Tickets are also great. The world that has, again, people at that lower end, they use it to huge advantage. So down to the next little thought. The area that Laurie shared with me some number of people who actually enrol to do course and certificates and so on within this space. And it's great to know that that working collectively there can be more push and more attraction and more considering how to get more people into that industry, but also how to get them through to the end of that. It also made me consider that there are some really hard-hit industries that are going to take a long time to come back at the moment. One, travel. There's lots and lots of private people who have their own private travel who are now, there is no work for them at all. you a travel person. I've got other friends who are travel people. Some of them I know have taken up clean. Now, how many of them may possibly have some of the and qualifications and necessary things they're looking for, or maybe there's a chance for them to step up to something, because it would appear that international travel for a start, flight attendants, etc., it's not going to come back for a long, long time. And I'm reminded that Coles went directly to the airlines to say, let us know the people you stood down, and because we need more hands now. So sometimes you can reach out to those industry sectors where there are no jobs for them at the moment, because people sitting around with nothing to do is worse, is the worst kind of nightmare for a lot of people. Having some stimulation of work is very powerful. Are there teachers out there who are tired of being in the classroom and would pivot to more of a focus on outdoors work? So trying to think about all of those things again is perhaps timely at the moment. I've actually created a program called the Science, because that's exactly what recruitment. If you think about the most complex machine, most complex anything in the world, it's got to be a human being. And selecting humans to do, and trying to look inside their minds and their hearts and their souls and really get to understand them, it's an art form. And it's something which we can practice and we can improve and we can really work hard on. So I like to think of recruitment as a three-legged stool. So you have to have legs right if you want that stool to be stable and stand. So when we're thinking about what makes the magic of work, the 3 steps are: everything has to be right. It has to be for the hiring organisation. It's got for the individual, and it's got to be right then for the customer or the engagement of the work that is done. So taking time, and sometimes this is difficult and you cram up quickly. My advice is, have you got good processes? Have you got good templates? Have you got good step-by-step guides so that it's consistent? So that if you do need to bring extra hands in to help you, there's a seamless step-by-step guide. We have steps in our recruitment process. I'm not suggesting that all 30 of those are 30 that you will need to do, but I can't emphasize more of stepping back for a moment to have really solid procedures and processes to go along the way. A lot has actually changed in the way that recruitment was done. There was a time, I can tell you too, that back in the Olympic days where we were recruiting all these people, there was no Seek. There was no online. I'm turning the clock back to last century. Believe it or not, we forget that this was the world of hard copy resumes that we were madly scanning. And we can't imagine that kind of world anymore. But even to think, we've come this far and we tend to think, I'll just put an ad on and I'll get all these people who want to come and work for me. And out of that, I'll find the quality that I need. Now, if you are finding that's not quite the case at the moment, then that's the world we're in. On the other hand, if you're finding that you're absolutely overrun with applications, many of which have not time to look at your criteria, and they're just madly trying to apply for anything and everything. Sometimes, sadly, it's so that they can tick the box to get their Centrelink payment. But that means a lot of extra work for you in having to sort and sift and really try to look at where is the real talent that I need to talk to. Today's world of candidate capture, as we call it, needs to have as many different approaches as possible. So online advertising is just one. Networking is critical. So for all of you, think of your networks. Put the word out to the networks, you know, that who are hearing the media telling everybody that don't apply, there's so many people and what chance. And it is a fact, if you look at the ABS statistics, a lot of people have given up. They've given up even attempting to apply because their attitude is there's so many people that are going to apply, I won't bother. So there are free advertising sites that you can look for. You need to get that message out as broadly as you possibly can. Social media is a very powerful tool, but social media is only going to be as powerful as, again, your network. How broad is your network? Are you constantly asking people to like your social media? Are you growing the numbers? And I guess that you had a presentation about marketing, and perhaps that was a strong message that was conveyed then as well. But if your social media only has, you know, 10 people that have liked it, it's not going to do much. So grow. But then also make every post a winning post in the use of your social media. I did happen to see somebody had posted an ad, and instead of taking the advantage of putting up great enticing photographs showing the appeal of the sort of outdoors work that you do, they had a great big Seek ad logo, great big Seek logo. So think about what are we doing to really use even the way we're promoting our job opportunities to make it attractive and capture those candidates. For those of you who don't know, there are very, very powerful search functions in Seek, and even if you've only got the regular Seek service and you haven't gone to premium, you can use those those very powerful Seek search functions where you can put in what are you looking for, you can put in a geographical target, you can put in some, you know, a range of attributes, and it will allow you to search across Seek, which is a powerful, powerful database at your fingertips. On that score too, if anybody asks you, should I be on Seek? Yes, the answer is yes, you should be on Seek, but it's not just about being on Seek, it's about seeking through Seek, using Seek, and that's a whole nother story. The other thing that you can do too, and this is this very, very small cost, but indeed offers the opportunity to search through their function too, so that you're coming up, you're finding candidates that way. So another old attribute of recruitment was let's interrogate the candidates. Let's be tough and mean, and let's ask them really hard, tricky questions and that they stumble over. Well, unfortunately, there are still some people with that attitude, but that's not the way that the focus is these days. The focus now is we don't have a business if we don't have candidates and the right candidates. So we're going to love them to death at every step of the way. I don't mean to say we're going to make silly decisions about them, but we're going to do everything we can to make them feel welcome, to relax the candidate so that we can bring out the best in them. We're going to ask really well thought out questions. I'll have a little more to say about that in a moment. We're going to actively listen. you know, the 2 ears, 1 mouth ratio is how the minimum of how it should be in interviews. You should have the least to say compared to what the most that they say. We should be looking for soft skills because the soft skills are the real power punches that we need. Another area that you may need to consider too is, no doubt some of you are doing interviews these days by, you know, virtually, especially as your initial interviews. And again, with that, make it easy. Prepare, perhaps send out a little, here's some tips for you to be prepared for your Zoom interview. It's amazing that how helpful that can be to somebody who hasn't had to consider that. And you want to know that you're going to get to see the best of them as well. Another thing is that recruitment at times has been a long, drawn-out process, and candidates absolutely hate that. They want to know, they want frequent but honest communication. If they can get speed of hire is critical, because these are people with real lives, and in a tight market, if you don't keep that process rolling along smoothly, efficiently, lots of communication, you will lose them. Because if there's 10 other organisations all looking for the same type of person, then they'll quickly go to somebody else. Another little tip for the actual interview. Here's a thought to think about. You are not hiring a position. You're hiring a result. So what are the results that you're looking for? And what are the questions that you're going to ask? What are the problems that this employee is going to solve? Is a good way to start. Put your business hat on and say, what are the real business needs here? And work from there. You've all heard of the importance of questions, and certainly that is a critical tool. But there are many, many different types of questions that we need to implement in our recruitment. Closed questions. Sadly, a lot of people use too many closed questions, which are only going to give you a yes/no answer. We need to be really skilled at creating and asking open questions. Ask the question, shut your mouth, zip it. Don't put the words in their mouth, which we as human beings tend to do. You know, why have you been attracted to this job? Is it this, is it this, is it this, this? Instead of, why have you been attracted to this job? Shut your mouth, listen. Silence hangs. Let it hang and they'll speak. Another opportunity is for situational questions. This is where you actually create a situation. Now, the person may not have had that in their lived experience, but you are asking them how would they respond to that situation. Similarly, behavioural is about you're trying to draw on past behaviour, the theory being that we're creatures of habit and our personalities usually play out in a similar way. So we ask, tell me of a time when, is the behavioural type of question. There's also a futurist question that we can include. And a futurist could be, so what do you looking to the future for our industry, what do you see? What changes do you see? So again, you're testing people's thinking. Have they really thought about what it is that you do? But all of those add huge value. I can't tell you the number of times that we have actually set people up for an interview with a prospective client. They'd come back and they said they would not know who I am because all they did was talk at me. And they didn't give me the opportunity to talk about who I am. So one of the tricks that I create is to suggest to people, always take along a show and tell. Because if you've got a show and tell, you can seize the day. And you can say, I'd like to show you this, or I'd like to tell you about this. So then you have the floor. For all of you too, I'm sure that because of the nature of your work, show and tell, or actually assessing people in the tasks that you might want them to do. For instance, if you want to hire a footballer, someone to kick a football, you test their skills in the real world. That's the best way to hire them, not just through words. It's about actually seeing it. Look, and time is just about gone, but the last little point I wanted to just touch on was that recruitment is, sadly, it is a legal minefield. And there are many things to be aware of. The first one is discrimination. And it's so easy for us to fall into the trap of saying, oh, and what does your husband do? It's a no-no. Or to say, and how many children do you have? You know, and you think that's an innocent question because we want them to be working with children. Unfortunately, whilst they're nice things to do, we have to be so very, very careful that we bring all of our focus to this person and the job, not whether there's anything externally that might be a challenge. There is a catch-all question that I love, and I do it this way. I say, so tell me, Laurie, who is Laurie when Laurie's not at work? Shut your mouth and listen. So it's just a way of people expressing a little more about who they are as a real person. It could take you anywhere, but it does mean you haven't asked those personal, non-asked questions about, you know, that comes across EEO, equal employment opportunity and discrimination. We have to be so careful with age and gender and disability and religion and marital status and pregnancy, all of those sorts of things. They're minefields. Be careful. But on that score, are there, you know, an area of the marketplace at the moment which is really in need of work is people who are over 45. They're not old. But let's not lead them out. Many of them, there are a lot of myths about employing mature age, and I can tell you that every one of the myths that you could possibly think of have been shot to pieces. A lot of that comes in another legal minefield these days, and that is we need to avoid unconscious bias. Reference checking is a minefield. Employing someone with a criminal record, what do you do? That's another minefield. People who apply with a disability, that's another minefield. So I can see that the clock has ticked by, and Laurie's going to tell me.
As we said, we have this for 3 hours, which Diane, I said, right, how can we shorten this to 1 hour? But no, that's incredible. I mean, I have been writing furiously in the chat. So just on all the tips you've been giving us, because I know the breaking up, and I don't know whether it was my breaking up or the your end, Di, but there was little pieces that I thought people might miss. So I've just been doing that. And also for the people that said, I really want to be here, but I couldn't today. So thank you so much. I'd love to ask, has anyone got any questions? I'm sure we'll take another hour with questions, but anything quickly, and you've offered, Di, if anyone does have anything, we can take it offline and email through.
If you want to gather questions, Laurie, and send it to me, I respond to those and send it back to you, and then you can distribute it.
Oh, amazing, amazing. Thank you so much. But anything quickly that anyone wanted to raise? I've had a few private chats with people having to go, but going, oh my God, this was so good. Anything that anyone wants to ask? They're all just stunned, I think.
Can I just leave with one last little thought that I did overlook? My most favourite ever initial question is, so tell me, what do you know about us? And I promise you, if the person you're interviewing doesn't know about you, your homework, has not found out about you, I would say they're maybe not the person you want to hire. these days, if someone's really keen on a job, they will do their homework and they'll be prepared and learned, you know, about your organisation.
Yeah, wonderful. What a great tip. Thank you so much. And I just thought I did promise that Di did mention before about one of the ads that she saw. And I think there's some real key tips that we can take away. This is obviously the site that we've set up, but here's a great example that I wanted to share with you to reiterate what she said. See the engagement here of Coast Life Adventures? There was a few real key things that they did that no one else did. And that was tagging people, sharing it amongst groups, but the visuals. And you can see here that they've got activity going in the foreground. So there was a lot of visual contact in their ad, a lot of tagging, a lot of hashtagging and sharing. And look, in 2 days, we had 1.6 people viewing that ad. Yep. So there you go. And look, that can only grow from there once you start looking at that. But this gives you an idea. We've only just set this Facebook page up this week. So it's got amazing potential on where we can take this to tap into to any potential employees for you. And it's only open to members of the organisation of Outdoors New South Wales and ACT. So take advantage of it. As Di said, anything that's free, definitely jump on. But may I say thank you very much, Di. It's so great to chat with you again, and I know our chats will continue. But thank you for coming along today and helping our sector, which I'm sure everyone is very, very grateful for your time.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Di. And to everyone, you know, which is Darug for see you soon. So thank you. We'll see you next week on Connect and Share Friday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. If you want to join us for happy hour at 4 o'clock, please do so. Otherwise, see you next week. Thanks, Di. Amazing work.
I hope that was what you were.
It was perfect. Perfect to brief. Perfect to brief. That's great. I'll get
Bye.
stop. See you, Dal. Take care.
Bye-bye.